Sometimes you think you have a pretty good handle on how the world works, right?
Hmm.
And then you bump into something like a law that just makes you stop and think, hang on, what?
Absolutely. That's definitely the feeling we get diving into some of these older or just plain unusual regulations.
Exactly. So that's our focus today. We're looking into laws, and honestly, some of the rules still active around the world are, well, they sound almost made up.
It's true. When you dig into legal history across different cultures, you find these fascinating remnants. Rules made for uh, very specific reasons, sometimes ages ago, that just never got taken off the books.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we've pulled together a whole collection of these, really surprising legal facts from the sources you shared. Our mission, if you will, is to explore some of the most baffling ones and try to figure out the why behind them.
Sort of get to the root of the reasoning or lack thereof sometimes.
Right. So everyone listening, get ready. It's going to be a pretty interesting journey through some, let's say, unique legal territory.
Okay, where are we starting?
Let's kick things off in Singapore. Famous for being orderly, right? But you actually can't chew gum there.
That's a classic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, since 1992, they've had this strict ban. No selling it, no importing it, not even chewing it.
And the reason?
It was all about public cleanliness. Seriously. The government was really cracking down on, gum stuck on sidewalks, in subway trains, just making a mess.
Wow. That's quite a commitment to tidiness.
It really shows how far a society might go to prioritize that kind of public order, even restricting something pretty minor like chewing gum.
It is pretty intense when you think about it, like a whole country without bubble gum. But there's a small exception, isn't there?
Yes. If you have a prescription for nicotine gum or certain types of dental gum, that's allowed. So a medical need provides a loophole.
Okay, a tiny bit of leniency. All right, let's jump over to the UK. Things get a bit symbolic here. Apparently, it's illegal to die in the Houses of Parliament.
Right. Now, this one is less about practical enforcement today and more of a historical quirk. The tradition, or maybe it was a bureaucratic concern, was that anyone who died inside the Houses of Parliament would technically be entitled to a state funeral.
Oh, okay.
So this law, as it's often called, was likely more about avoiding that big ceremonial obligation and expense.
So it's more legend than active law, maybe, but still fascinating.
It definitely highlights how tradition and maybe, yeah, avoiding protocol can lead to these slightly odd enduring rules.
What a story. Okay, shifting gears. If you're planning a trip to Greece, maybe check your footwear before visiting ancient sites. High heels, reportedly banned.
Yes, and this one has a very practical reason behind it.
Which is?
Those sharp heels concentrate a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
and they can actually chip and damage the fragile surfaces of ancient marble and stone. Think the Acropolis, places like that.
Well, that makes sense. You wouldn't want stilettos poking holes in history.
Exactly. It's purely about preservation, protecting these incredible sites from, well, modern fashion so
Yeah.
they last for future generations.
A sensible, if slightly unexpected rule. Okay, let's pop over to Italy. Venice, specifically. St. Mark's Square used to be famous for pigeons, right?
Oh, absolutely. Covered in them.
Well, feeding them is now illegal.
Mm-hmm. And again, there's a very practical preservation-focused reason. Pigeon droppings are quite acidic.
Really?
Yes, and they were causing noticeable damage, sort of etching away at the historic statues and building facades in the square.
Wow. So the ban is basically monument protection.
Precisely. Protecting Venice's heritage from, well, from the birds people were attracting. It's an interesting intersection of tourism, wildlife, and preservation.
Okay, from pigeons to Winnie the Pooh. This one surprised me. In parts of Poland, apparently he's been banned from some playgrounds.
Yeah, this one caused a bit of a stir. The reported reason is quite something.
Don't leave us hanging.
It was his lack of pants.
You're kidding.
No. Apparently, some local officials felt his bare bottom half was inappropriate for children and set a bad example.
Winnie the Pooh. A bad influence because he doesn't wear trousers.
That was the argument, yes.
Yeah.
It really throws a spotlight on how different cultures or even different groups within a culture can have vastly different ideas about what's considered appropriate for kids.
That's just, wow. Okay, let's head stateside. Alabama, USA. There's a really quirky one about ice cream.
Ah, yes, the ice cream cone in the back pocket.
On Sundays, specifically. Is that real?
Well, it's one of those laws often cited as being on the books, perhaps in specific localities, and the historical explanation is fantastic.
Lay it on me.
It was supposedly to prevent horse theft.
How does ice cream prevent horse theft? Or rather, how does banning it?
The idea was someone could put an ice cream cone in their back pocket to subtly lure a horse away, maybe while pretending to just stand there. The horse follows the sweet
It
treat.
locks off with the thief. Oh my goodness.
Exactly. It paints such a picture of a different time, doesn't it? And the creative lengths potential thieves might go to.
That's amazing. Okay, let's talk romance getting regulated. Samoa. Husbands, take note.
Yeah.
Forgetting your wife's birthday is apparently illegal.
This law, or reported custom treated as law, in Samoa is really interesting. It gives you a window into how much importance that culture places on family relationships and, remembering those key dates.
So could you actually get fined?
The specifics of enforcement might be more about social pressure than actual fines in some cases, but the fact that it's considered against the law really underlines that societal expectation. It values remembering and celebrating your spouse.
Definitely adds a bit of pressure. Okay, from birthdays to the afterlife. Sort of. In Tibet, there's a law requiring monks to get government permission before they reincarnate.
Yes, this is a regulation implemented by the Chinese government regarding Tibetan Buddhism.
And the purpose?
It's generally understood as a measure to exert state control over religious traditions and, crucially, the selection and recognition of important reincarnate lamas or spiritual leaders.
So it's quite political.
It definitely involves the intersection of state authority and religious practice, aiming to manage religious leadership within the region according to government directives. It's a complex and sensitive issue.
Understood. Very different kind of regulation. Let's move to Indonesia. Public displays of affection, like kissing, frowned upon or even forbidden in some areas.
That's correct, particularly in more conservative regions of Indonesia. It reflects local cultural and religious norms that emphasize modesty in public.
What happens if you break that rule?
Penalties can vary depending on the specific local laws, but they can reportedly range from fines to, in some stricter interpretations or situations, possibly even jail time. It shows how deeply ingrained cultural values can be codified into law.
Right, a real reminder of local customs having legal weight. Okay, Thailand. Need to be careful where you walk, especially around money.
Absolutely critical in Thailand. Stepping on currency coins or banknotes is a serious no-no,
Why is that?
because the currency features the image of the king. The Thai monarchy is deeply revered, and any act seen as disrespectful towards the king's image, even accidentally stepping on it, is taken very seriously.
What could happen?
You could face fines, or potentially even be arrested under lèse majesté laws, which protect the dignity of the monarchy. It's a powerful example of cultural symbolism embedded in everyday items.
Good to know. Very important cultural note there. Okay, how about Russia? Driving a dirty car can get you in trouble.
In some areas, yes. But the main reason isn't just about keeping up appearances.
No. What is it then?
It's primarily about license plates. If your car is so dirty that the license plate is obscured, police can't identify it easily.
Ah, for traffic cameras and enforcement.
Exactly.
Mm.
So the fines are usually linked to having an unreadable plate due to dirt. It's a practical road safety and regulation issue.
Makes sense. Gotta be identifiable. Now, planning a Caribbean trip. Maybe leave the camo gear at home if you're heading to places like Barbados or St. Lucia.
That's a common regulation across many Caribbean nations, yes.
Yeah.
Civilians generally aren't allowed to wear camouflage clothing.
And the reasons for that.
Usually two main ones. First, it avoids any confusion between civilians and actual military personnel, which is important for security. And second, it's a measure to prevent camouflage being used by people engaging in criminal activities to sort of blend in or impersonate officials. It's about maintaining order and security.
Seems pretty straightforward from a security standpoint.
All right, let's swing back to Asia and Malaysia. Wearing yellow clothes. Potentially problematic.
Under very specific circumstances, yes. This is all about political context.
How so?
In Malaysia, the color yellow became strongly associated with a significant anti-government protest movement.
Ah, the color of protest.
Right. So during times of political sensitivity or specific crackdowns, wearing yellow could be interpreted by authorities as a sign of dissent or affiliation with that movement and could potentially lead to trouble.
Wow, shows how loaded even a color can become. Okay, over to Australia. Watch your language down under.
In some public places, yes. Using offensive language can fall foul of public order laws in certain states or territories.
And what's the penalty?
Often, police can issue on-the-spot fines. It reflects an expectation of maintaining a certain level of decorum in public spaces. Good advice. Keep it clean. All right, one last stop on our legal tour back in London. Is it really true there's an old law against carrying large wooden planks on the pavement?
It sounds archaic, but yes, That kind of regulation likely stems from very old public safety concerns that are still somewhat relevant.
Just don't block the sidewalk.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Carrying large, cumbersome items like long planks of wood on a busy city sidewalk is obviously a hazard to other pedestrians. It's a basic safety rule, even if the wording sounds a bit dated, preventing trips and collisions.
Well, that was quite a journey, from gum bans to reincarnation permits. It's just amazing what's out there.
It really is. And what's fascinating is how these laws, even the strangest ones, often give you a peek into the history, the culture, or the specific anxieties of the society that created them.
They're like little windows into different ways of thinking about order and behavior. So, for everyone listening, after hearing all that, which law stands out to you? Which one made you pause?
Yeah, which one was the most surprising or made you think the most?
It really does make you consider how these rules, big and small, seen and unseen, shape daily life so differently depending on where you are in the world.
Absolutely. And it pushes us to think about why things get formalized into law in one place and not another. It's a reminder of the sheer variety of human societies.
A wonderfully weird and varied world indeed. Keep asking those why questions, keep exploring. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.